welcome to week 7. This has been a full week, which is really cool, and I got a new student who I almost considered putting into this group actually, but I don't think I will now. So when she first came, she was straight from Tonga, and in my head I was like, she's going to be exactly the same as Paul was, but she has so much English and, you know, so much confidence speaking to me, and she can read higher than even he can now, a year later. She's still reading higher than he is. A lot of confidence with writing, even though I'm like, she's very confident doing it, so that's fine. So I don't think I will put her in, but I might just mention her from time to time because she's kind of doing similar stuff. When I call the group, I kind of call her as well, just so she like catches up her English really quickly. I'll talk about Paul and Kian first. Kian is now on behaviour report, which is fine. I didn't even put him on. It was somebody else who put him on, so cool. But again, on reflection with him, most of his incidences, I guess you could say, happen outside, like at morning tea, at lunch, before school. Not necessarily in the classroom. So like, win, but not win. I don't know. So he's on behaviour report. He put spitballs on my ceiling today when I wasn't in the room. Cool. And Ryan helped him. So, yep. Anyway, so he's doing well, considering, I guess. And, I did make him, he finally brought his new hearing aids to school. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but has like limited hearing, I guess. There's certain sounds that he can't hear. So like p, t, s are some of them. Like he can hear normal conversation, but when he's reading and stuff like that, he should be wearing his hearing aids. So he finally brought the new ones in, and I was like, put them on. And I was put them on. And like, I know this is going to sound really mean to people who don't know the situation, but I've had this kid for 3 years. Okay, I know him really well. He cried, and I mean, this is going to sound heartless, but I didn't really care. Put them on. Nobody is looking at you like he's just being a bit of a drama queen. So I know that sounds horrible to some people, but I know this kid really well, and I know the rest of the class is not going to say anything or, you know, anything like that. So I was like, put them on, man. And eventually he did. And then no one cared. Even the new girl who was like, what's that? Like, you know, because she was sitting next to him. And I just said, oh, they just help him hear better. And she was like, all right. And she kept doing her work. Nobody cared. So kind of proved a point to him that nobody's actually looking at him. Nobody cares that he wears them. So hopefully it won't be as much of a drama next time. So that's fine. Paul is doing really, really well. I did move him up to green for his reading on, you know, on the colour wheel and stuff. He did give me a bit of resistance. I'm like, oh, it's hard, man. But now that he's actually read a few of the green level books, green 1, he's like, oh, it's fine. Like, you know, like, he's fine with it. So that was good. We did a lot of word endings the other day. So I have a modelling book, but I'll just show you what they wrote. So they wrote the alphabet one day. And then we talked about like the word help and how there's helps, helped, helping, and help. And like, I know it sounds weird being like helped, but you know, but it just helps them hear the difference, especially with him because he thinks it's a T and it's not, and it's just, you know, and he thinks it's a B but it's a P, and it's a really confusing word. And then we looked at look, so look, looks, looking, looked, and then we had a few other words as well, but I don't think he actually wrote them down. Just practicing recognizing the difference and keeping, you know, the root word the same but the ending is different, stuff like that. And then the next day we did jump, jumping, jumped, jumps, and then they kind of got the rhythm of it right. So then they were like played, plays, playing, laugh, laughter, laughing, laughs. And then I put read, like I'm reading, and they were like reading, and I was like yeah, and they were like readed, and I just looked at them and they were like wait. And it was really, really cool because they recognized that readed is not a word. You know, they were just following the pattern, but they recognized when it didn't make sense. So that was really, really cool. That was Paul and Kian did that, and the new girl as well. They also have been doing this. you know, tracing the letters and stuff. And because the new girl does it and this other boy does it who's not even in this group, they're like almost competitive now, and they want to do it because there's a group of them doing it, not just Kian by himself doing it. And this they're really into as well. It was interesting because when Paul did this week, he wrote, instead of copying all his lowercase, he copied some capitals and some lower, and I was like, what are you doing? But when I pointed it out to him, like that it was different, he was like, oh, and then he corrected it. So I don't think that's an issue. I think he just wasn't paying attention. But it's really cool that they're willing to do this, and they like pass it around and like make it, I don't know, it's kind of a thing. Because the new girl writes her letters really weird. So it's cool that they do it together, and then it's not a big deal. We also finished this way. This way. I talked about the P and B things that we started, and we did T and D. This was last Wednesday that we did that. So we finished, I'll try and tilt this. We have like a whole alphabet going on the door here. And then if I tilt it this way, they've got like the class's new words. I don't know if you can see that, hang on. So we've got like the class's new words, those are the spelling, reading groups, our spelling words, and then we've got those. And it was really cool because none of the kids in the class even noticed that they were like lower level words. I don't want to say that in a bad way, but like high frequency words. They don't even care, but like nobody has even said anything. So it's really cool, and I'm glad that it's like, oh, it's a baby alphabet or anything like that. And because it looks very physically the same, because it's just vivid on paper, so I taped it to the wall. It's really cool. And the other kids in the class keep being like, oh, my name's on it. They know how to use my name, Lara, and it's really cool. Yeah. And that was really cool when we did that because, like, say we were going to, like, we did F, right? And then we did fishing. And then they would jog in their head, it was jog their memory of the book where Baby Bear goes fishing and the dad can't find the fish or whatever it is. So then they would start thinking of other words from that book, and then we would swap the letter out and write that word and come back to this word and come back to this letter. It was really, really cool. We do need to keep adding to it, and I've still got to do, we need to add to N and O because there's hardly any, and we didn't do U, V, X, Y, Z because I didn't think that they would actually know any of those words. And they haven't come up to me and been like, oh, miss this. So, and for K, like only Kian is there. So like they don't know any other K words. But that's okay. All the other words, I was really impressed by how many they could come up with, you know. So yeah, I was really happy with that. I'm happy that it's up. I'm happy that the rest of the class isn't making it a thing and like being like, oh, that's the baby words, or you know. And it was really funny because one of the kids today was like, oh, you should put knowledge on the letter K because there's only one word on K. And Kian was like, huh? Like he didn't even know the word knowledge, so I just kind of laughed because it's only words that they actually know, not just any word that I could think of or the other kids could think of. They had to know the word. So that was kind of funny, but whatever. Ryan has had a bit of a nightmare week, if I'm going to be honest. I'm filming this on 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. To this minute, he has not finished one piece of work all week. Not one. He tries to pull all these tricks on me. I don't know why it doesn't work last week. Why is it going to work this week? Where he'd be like, oh, it's so hard. And I'm like, literally this particular thing, you're copying the thing and then doing something else with it. You know what I mean? Like something super easy. And he acts like it's the hardest thing in the world and it drives me crazy. And then he'll go and ask this really, really nice, friendly kid to share it with him. Oh, my computer's not working. Can you share it with me? And the nice, friendly kid would be like, of course. And I'm like, stop it. I know what you're doing. Like, you know, and then he gets really angry because I called him out on it. So that's fine. He refused to work on Tuesday and left the room and would not come back into the room. And I called the deputy principal because I was like, I'm done, I can't, and it's like, I feel like sometimes I spend too much time trying to coax him back into stuff It's actually not fair on the rest of my class. And that's where I kind of struggle, because he needs that attention and he needs it, but so do the other kids. And that's kind of the thing with a mainstream class. When you have kids like that, you don't have 6 kids to deal with. You've got 27 or 28 or whatever it is that I have now. I don't even know. And it's just, I can't, like, they need me too. It's not just him. So I was like, I can't, I'm spending the rest of the day with my class. I'm actually not going to deal with this right now. And she was really lovely and she went and dealt with it. And he came back in and apologized to me for something that was not even the issue in the first place. But that's okay. He came back and then he did the rest of his work that day. It was fine. And he actually helped Ken with his work, and I was like, yes. Today as well, he left the classroom. My syndicate leader came and got him because I was telling her about the spitballs on the ceiling that him and Ryan, him and Ken did. And she came and looked at it, called them both out, and then Ken came back a little while later and he did some work and whatever, she was satisfied, so he came back. And that was really good. And he came back, tried to apologise to me, didn't know what he was apologising for, and then screamed at her, and it became this whole like fight between me, the syndicate leader, and this kid, in front of the rest of my class, by the way. And then she took him back out. No, he stayed. I said, go and get your book, you can work next to me, He spent the next half hour looking for his book. And then I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm tired of you looking for it. Well, the whole class is going to look for your book. Whoever finds it, I'll give you a prize. I don't know. Literally, it took them 10 seconds to find the book. So he was just purposely not doing it. And even then, he wouldn't do it. So I took him back to the syndicate leader. I was like, no, I'm going to spend the day with my class. Like, no, I know he's part of the class, but he demands so much of my attention that it's not fair to everyone else. And I wanted to give them some love today. You know what I mean? Because they've worked so hard, whereas he's done nothing all week, and I wanted to acknowledge them. So I was like, no, you can go back there. He stayed there for the rest of the afternoon. I took him in his homework sheet that he asked me for. He asked me if he could have addition up to millions, and I did it for him. And I took it to him and said, here is the thing you asked for. You know, here is your rain jacket that you also left in the classroom. And he was like, oh, thank you, miss. And, you know, like, I don't know. I also took the opportunity, because he wasn't in the room, I talked to the rest of my class about autism. And I'll put I had this image projected on the TV, and I'll put it up so you can see what I'm talking about. But I found a kid-friendly kind of image poster thing that talks about autism and the different things that they might do or they might not do. And we talked about, one of them is something about need a quiet space to calm down. And we talked about as a class how he hides on the desk, or he hides down in the computer table in the corner with his headphones on because he likes the dark and he likes the quiet. And I know that they get annoyed because I let him do it sometimes, and they need to understand why he's doing it. And they were really, really good about it. And they were asking really good questions like, oh, miss, what about when he pulls his t-shirt over his legs? I can't do it, but he pulls his legs up and then puts his t-shirt over it, and he kind of rocks on the mat every time. And they were like, oh, is that because he's autistic? And they were asking really good things, and it made me be like, oh, bless you, you guys are so patient. That was one of the other things on the poster, I need people to be patient with me. And I said to the kids, sometimes I lose my patience, you know that, because I get mad at them too, you know. And I need you guys to help me remember these things so I'm a bit more patient with him. And they were like, yep, you know, it was a really, really good discussion. And I'm glad I did it. And it was really interesting because they could pick out kids in other classes, and they'd be like, oh, Joshua's not that patient with him. Is that why they have so many fights? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. And then one kid was like, miss, but he's really funny, but at the wrong time. Is that him trying to be my friend, but he's doing it at the wrong time? And I was like, yes, they're just so socially and mentally intelligent that they could pick up all these things that I pick up, but I don't always perceive that another 9-year-old is going to pick that up. And it was really, really, really cool to talk about it as a class, and I think they understood where I was coming from, where I wanted them to understand why sometimes he acts the way he does, or he might get treated by me a little bit different or something like that, because he is a bit different, you know. And yeah, it was a really rich conversation that I'm glad I had, and I feel like it was a good time to have it because of his behaviour today, and then being like, every time he screamed, you know, and like every time something happened, they'd be like why is he doing that, you know, like, yeah, so that was really cool. Next week is going to be interesting because half my class is going to be out at cricket one day, and I'm actually away for 2 days, Thursday, Friday, and on the Monday or Tuesday or something, we have a half day like Tua Kanatena with my buddy class. So for a half a day, my whole class is going to go down to one of the junior classes, who's my buddy class, while I go to the teacher union meeting, and then we swap, and the other teacher's going, and I'm going to have 20-something 5-year-olds as well as all my own class. So I don't know actually how well that's going to go, but just with having so many people in the room, and like so many people who he doesn't know, I think it's going to set Ryan off. But the other two will really like it because they like being the expert instead of being the one who knows nothing, you know. But just the breakup of the routine is not going to be great, because even this week's been a full week of routine and he's still like that. So next week's going to be a bit of a mare as well. And I felt really like, I don't know the word, comforted, I don't know, because my syndicate leader, when she brought him back in, was like, he needs to go on medication. He won't do anything. He's this. And I was like, yeah, he is. And like, you know, I'm so in my own little bubble because we're in a single cell classroom that sometimes I forget how drastic it is sometimes, and like how, I don't know, like I just kind of, it's my normal. Yeah, so next week's going to be really unsettled, so they're going to be really unsettled, and I think it's really going to throw them not having me for 2 days. Not that I think I'm like vicious, but just that routine is already out as it is, and then I'm not going to be here for 2 days, so Ryan particularly is not going to cope very well, I predict, but that's okay. The following weeks are all like short weeks because of Easter, so it'll be good to, you know, like they can have more breaks and stuff. But yeah, just that routine, I'm like, oh, because it does definitely make a difference. Donna emailed me today, just before actually, I only just saw it, asking for the assessment data. Still don't have it. Teacher aides are busy, they still haven't had time to do the PATs with Kian and Paul. I'm going to mark their writing samples right after this actually. Not that I think they're going to do amazing on that, because that was a really bad day. But that's not my OTJ, like, it's different, you know, it's just one test. And I can give her gloss at least. They do decent enough on gloss, so. And then she's going to let me know, like, strategies or ideas that she has, something like that. So that's me for now.